we can call the meeting in order. All right, first on the agenda, approve the minutes from the August 1st, 2024 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. All right, the motion passes. Or to approve the meeting minutes. Any unfinished business?
The only unfinished business we have is the code updates. So if you guys are ready to proceed with that, then we should be good to go. And I do believe it's fuel gas and mechanical. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, I just want to note that I have a hard stop at 10:30, so if I get up and walk out at 10:30, or if there's a vote that needs to happen before I leave, in order to still have a quorum.
Okay, sounds good. We're good? Okay.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kevin Cuskella, Commercial Mechanical Inspector. Today we'll be presenting the amendments for the IFGC and the IMC and significant changes. And we have removed some existing amendments that kind of caught up with us and the installation of new equipment that people are installing now. But yeah, okay, so I guess we'll start with the IFGC and existing amendment 101.1. The regulation shall be known as the existing building code of the city of Fargo, hereinafter referred to as this code. Is this existing amendment liability? The code shall not be construed to relieve from the lessons of the responsibility of the person, owner, operating, or controlling any building or structure for any damage or persons or properties caused by defects, nor shall the code enforcement agency of the city of Fargo be held as assuming any such liability by reason of the inspection authorized by the code or any permits or certificates issued under this code. Another existing amendment, 108.2, schedule of permits, permitting fee. Where work required a permit, a fee for each permit shall be paid as required in accordance with the schedule of as established by the applicable City of Fargo Board of Commissions. Another existing amendment, page 21, terms defined in other codes. Terms are not defined in this code are defined in International Building Code, International Fire Code, International Mechanical Code, or North Dakota Plumbing Code. Such terms have meaning ascribed to them as those codes. Another existing amendment, page 33, 304.6.1. 2 permanent openings methods where directly communicate with the outdoors or communicate with the outdoors through vertical ducts. Each opening shall have a minimum free square area of 1 inch per 4,000 BTUs or a total input rating of the appliance in the enclosure. So basically there we deleted 2 of the figures and we amended as shown the figure in the drawing as shown. Existing amendment, page 35, one permanent opening method. One permanent opening commencing within 12 inches of the top of the enclosure shall be provided. The appliance shall have a clearance of not less than 1 inch from the side and back and 6 inches from the front of the appliance. The openings shall directly communicate with the outdoors or through a vertical or horizontal duct to the outdoors, and shall have a minimum free area of 1 inch per 1,000 BTU of the total input rating of the appliance located within the enclosure and not less than the sum of the area of all vented connections in the space. Existing amendment, page 26, or 36, excuse me. Combustion air ducts shall comply with all the following. Ducts shall not terminate in an attic space. So otherwise, cannot take combustion air out of an attic space. Existing amendment, page 97. Test pressure measurements. Test pressure shall be measured with a manometer or with a pressure measuring device designed and calibrated to record and indicate a pressure loss caused by leak during the pressure test period. And the source of the pressure shall be isolated before the pressure tests are made. Dial gauges used to measure test pressure shall perform with a gauge of 2 psi increments or less and have a range of not exceeding 100 psi unless otherwise approved. Existing amendment, page 97, pressure test. The test pressure to be used shall be not less than 1.5 times the proposed maximum working pressure, but not less than 25 psi, irrespective of the design pressure. Where the test pressure exceeds 125 psi, the test pressure shall not exceed the value of the pressure and hoop stress in the pipe greater than 50% of the specified minimum yield strength of the pipe. Existing amendment, page 99, that's the drips. Where wet gas exists, a drip shall be provided at any point in the line of pipe where concentrate shall collect. And just change the verbiage. Existing amendment, page 102. 411.2. Manufactured home connections. Manufactured home shall be connected to the distribution pipe system by listed and labeled connectors and in compliance with ANSI Z21.75 / CSA 6.27. Installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Existing amendment, page 109, 501.12. Residential and low heat appliances, flue line systems. Flue line systems for use in residential type and low heat appliance shall be limited to the following. 1. Clay flue lining complying with the requirements of ANSI C315 or equivalent when each appliance connector into the masonry chimney has a minimum input rating greater than 400,000 BTU. Clay flue lining shall be installed in accordance with the International Building Code. Listed chimney lining systems comply with UL 1777 and 3 other approved material that will resist without cracking, softening, or corrosion. Flue gases and condensate at temperatures up to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. That's it for the IFGC. Have any questions on any of that? IMC, there's not a lot of significant changes. It's just a lot of amendments, and we've eliminated a few of the amendments, existing amendments, and we have not added any amendments. Existing amendment, page 11, 101.1 title. These regulations shall be known as a mechanical code of the city of Fargo, hereby referred to as this code. Existing amendment, page 12, 103.1, creation of agency. The city of Fargo Inspection Department is hereby created, and the official in charge thereof shall be known as a code official. The function of the agency shall be implementation, administration, and enforcement of the provisions of this code. Existing amendment, page 14, 104.8, liability. The code shall not construed to relieve from our lesson and responsibility of any person, owner, operator, in controlling any building or structure for any damages to person or property caused by defects, nor shall the code enforcement agency or the city be held as assuming as any such liability by reason of the inspection authorized by the code, or any permits or certificates issued under this code. Existing amendment, page 17. It's actually supposed to be 109.2. It says 108.2, but schedule of the permit fees. The work requiring a permit, a fee for each permit and mechanical work shall be paid, required in accordance with the schedule as established by the City of Fargo Board of City Commissioners. Existing amendment, page 21, 201.3, terms defined in other codes. Where terms are not defined in the code and are defined in the International Building Code, International Fire Code, International Field Gas Code, North Dakota Plumbing Code, such terms shall have meaning ascribed to them as those codes. So the amendment, existing amendment, page 39, all they added is North Dakota State Plumbing Code instead of the International Plumbing Code. I don't know if we need to go over that. That's pretty much with page 21 too. Minimum ventilation rate. Table 403.3.1.1, page 45. We will not put, what does it say here? We will not put the table on notes, but now the occupancy classifications got a lot more specific. So yeah, with this table, it got a lot longer and more specific, and it's actually a lot more clear. The following changes new in the 24 will affect I1's occupancy, which are alcohol and drug centers. assisted living facilities, congregated care facilities, group homes, halfway houses, residential board, and care facilities, social rehab facilities. And 501.7, Group I-1 occupancies, page 64. In Group I-1 occupancies, hood installed over domestic cooking equipment installed in accordance with section 420.9 of the International Building Code shall comply with the following. Range hoods shall have a minimum airflow of 500 CFM. Mechanical ventilation shall be provided to the rooms or spaces containing the domestic cooking equipment in accordance with section 403.3.1. Range hoods exhaust shall discharge to the outdoors, except exceptions. A listed and labeled ductless range hood shall be permitted where a charcoal filter is provided in the hood. It provides smoke and odors. The following change, also new in the 2024, will affect I-2 occupancies, which are foster care facilities, detoxification facilities, hospitals, nursing homes, and psychiatric hospitals. 505.8, Group I-2 occupancies. In Group I-2 occupancies, hood installation above domestic cooking equipment installed in accordance with section 407.2.7 of the International Building Code shall comply with the following. Range hoods shall be a minimum airflow of 500 CFM. Mechanical ventilation shall be provided to the rooms or spaces containing a domestic cooking equipment in accordance with section 403.3.1. 3. Range hood exhaust shall discharge to the outdoors, exception same as with the ductless range hoods with a charcoal filter. The next two sections here are new to the 2024, page 65. Light tests. For a duct test shall be performed by passing a lamp having not less than 16 lumens through the entire section of the ductwork to be tested. The lamp shall be open so as to emit light equally in direction I can't say that word, to the duct walls. A successful test shall be where the light from the lamp is not visible at any point in the exterior of the duct. And 506.3.2.5.2 water spray test. This is new. A duct test shall be performed by simulating a cleaning operation of the interior of the duct. A water pump capable of a flow output pressure test of 1200 psi shall be used, along with any necessary hoses, nozzles, spray nozzles. Apply high pressure water to the inside of the surface of the duct. A successful test shall be where there is no evidence of clean water at any point of the exterior of the duct. There's a few more significant changes here. Commercial kitchen hood, page 69. 507.1, general. Commercial kitchen exhaust hood shall comply with the requirements of this section. Hoods shall be a type 1 or type 2 and shall be designed to capture and confined cooking vapors and residue. A type 1 hood shall be installed at or above appliances in accordance with section 507.2. A type 2 hood shall be installed at or above appliance in accordance with section 507.3, where any cooking appliance under the single hood requires a type 1 hood. A type 1 hood shall be installed. Where a type 2 hood is required, a type 1 or type 2 hood shall be installed. So you can use either hood, but you'd go with the type 2. It's a lot cheaper. Anyway, the new exceptions, ovens listed and labeled for use with wood fuel in accordance with UL 2162 and vented in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. An electric cooking appliance listed and labeled in accordance with UL 197 for reduced grease emissions. Commercial electric dishwashers in accordance with self-contained condensing system listed and labeled in accordance with UL 921. Where the heat and moisture loads from dishwashers and appliances that produce heat or moisture and do not produce grease or smoke, a result in cooking process are incorporated into the HVAC system. Designed or into the design of a separate removal system. Spaces containing such cooking appliance that do not require a type 2 hood shall be provided with exhaust at a rate of 0.70 CFM per square foot for the purpose of determining the floor area required to the exhaust each individual appliance that is not required to be installed under a type 2 hood shall be considered occupying not less than 100 square feet. Such additional square footage shall be provided with exhaust at a rate of 0.70 CFM per square foot. Page 70. 507.1.3 fuel burning appliances. Appliances equipped with draft hoods and atmospheric burning shall not be located in the same room as a space containing a type 1 or type 2 hood, except where the appliance is located in a sealed enclosure equipped with a self-closing device with combustion air obtained from the outdoors or from other spaces in the building in accordance with Chapter 7 or International Field Gas Code. That'd be like you can't have a natural draft water heater in the same room with a hood or other appliances with natural draft. There's another amendment here. Existing amendment, page 97, attic spaces. Attic spaces shall not be used for combustion air. Page 116. I think this is 1101.2.1 group A2L, A2, A3, and B1 high probability equipment using group A2L, A2, A3, or B1 refrigerant shall comply with UL 484, UL, or CSA 60335-2-40, or ULC SA 60335-2-89. This is a new product. It'll be sold in stores and buildings. It is the new refrigerant product that is coming out and should be here. Should be coming to this part of the country here soon, but it is out there. And not, from 410 refrigerant, they're switching to this A2L and B2L. Refrigerant piping shafts with systems using group A2L or B2L refrigerants shall be naturally or mechanically ventilated. Refrigerant piping shaft with one or more of the systems using any group A2, A3, B2, B3 refrigerant shall be continuously ventilated. Ventilated and shall include a refrigerant detector. The shaft ventilation exhaust outlet shall comply with section 501.3.1 naturally ventilated shaft shall have a pipe, duct, or conduit not less than 4 inches in diameter that connect to the lowest point of the shaft and extend to the outdoors. The pipe, duct, or conduit shall be level or pitched downward to the outdoors. Mechanically ventilated shafts have a minimum airflow velocity in accordance with table 1109.3.2. The mechanical ventilation shall be continuously operated or activated by refrigerant detector. Systems utilizing the refrigerant detector shall activate the mechanical ventilation at a maximum refrigerant concentration of 25%, or the lower flammable limit of the refrigerant. The detector or the sampling tube that draws air to the detector shall be located in an area where refrigerant from a leak will concentrate. The shaft shall not be required to be ventilated from a double wall refrigerant pipe where the interstitial space of the double wall pipe is vented to the outdoors. Another existing amendment, page 138, 1208.1 general. New hydronic piping systems shall be isolated and tested hydrostatically, no less than 100 psi. The duration of the test time is 15 minutes, not less than 15 minutes. This new section, page 130, this is a new section, page 139. 1209.6.2, radiant tubing circuit tags. Each individual radiant tubing circuit shall have a tag or labels securely affixed to each manifold outlet indicating the length of each circuit and the area served. 1209.6.3 radiant tube drawings. The radiant tube drawings and designs reports shall be provided to the building owner or the designated representative of the building owner. 1209.7 snow and ice melt tubing replacement. Hydronic tubing to be embedded for the purpose of a snow or ice melt system shall be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions and with the tube layout and spacing in accordance with the system design. 1209.7.1 snow and ice melting tubing's circuit length. The maximum circuit length of the snow or ice tubing from the supply to the return manifold shall not exceed the length specified by the system design, or in the absence of the manufacturer's specifications, the length specified in the table 1209.7.1, individual tubing circuits length shall be installed with the variance or not more than plus 10% from the design. Snow and ice melt tubing drawings and design reports shall be provided to the building owner or the designated representative of the building owner. That's all I have for the IMC and IFGC. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning.
Morning.
Ryan Erickson with the Fargo Fire Department. With me today also is Don Stallenwork, Assistant Fire Marshal. We're going to start the 2024 International Fire Code. Today, what we're looking to do is chapters 1 through 3, and then jump over to chapter 11, the existing building chapter. And then the next meeting in November will cover all the remaining chapters of the fire code, or as many as time will allow. So with that, I'll get started here. Chapter 1, we have a lot of sections to cover here, only because it's our scope and administration chapter. And the fire code's set up to, in some jurisdictions, to kind of act on its own if they aren't able to kind of team up with a building code. So there's a lot of sections of permits in chapter 1. And so you'll hear a lot of amendments where we're removing that. And oftentimes it's just so that we can coordinate with other city departments, including inspections. So we're not creating duplicate permits. It's not removing the requirements in the code, it's just removing the permit requirement. So with that, we'll get started here. Section 101.1, page 24. Same amendment that you heard from a lot of the other codes, adding in the jurisdiction name of City of Fargo. Next one is 103.1, page 25, or a local amendment to add in the name of the agency as Fargo Fire Department. Section 104.8 on page 28. It's the liability section. This amendment is the same one that you also heard for the building code. We carry that over into the fire code too. It's to limit liability to the code official. Section 105.5.1, page 30. We're now into these are the beginning of the operation permits. So these are permits we issue on an annual basis. This first one here is for 3D printing. We recommend our local amendment to delete this section in its entirety. And so again, the requirements for 3D printing remain in section 320. So you'll hear those later in chapter 3, but we're not going to require an annual permit for that. So continuing with our operational permits here, section 105.5.9, page 30, we recommend to amend it as following. So permit amounts for compressed gases, carbon dioxide used in carbon dioxide enrichment systems would be changed to requiring a permit at 500 pounds, along with carbon dioxide used in insulated liquid carbon dioxide beverage dispensing applications. The reason we're seeking that is just that it puts it to a level where we would have a safety concern, so we do want to permit them. But there's a whole range of systems out there for pop dispensing and that type of stuff. 105.5.14, page 31, recommend deleting this section in its entirety. This was a new permit added to the 2021 IFC. However, it's already being covered through the inspections office. That's energy storage systems, so it'd be handled through electrical permitting. 105.5.15, also recommend deleting that permit. It's for exhibits and trade shows. We typically don't issue those permits, however, we could still do inspections. Section 105.5.18, subsection 2 on page 31. We recommend continuing our local amendment. This is when a permit would be required when you're storing or using, and we're to store, handle, or use Class 1A liquids in excess of 30 gallons, Class 1B liquids in excess of 60 gallons, and Class 1C liquids in excess of 90 gallons. It's in a building, outside a building, except that a permit is not required for the following. And then the rest of that stays the same, so we didn't include that in your packet. But this amendment just changes the amounts of when you would be required to have that permit. Otherwise, there's a lot of places that have 5 gallons of gasoline and would pretty much mean that everybody would need a permit for that. Subsection 3, also changing that one for to store, handle, and use Class 2 or Class 3A liquids in excess of 120 gallons in a building or in excess of 120 gallons outside of a building, except for fuel oil used in connection with oil burning equipment. Section 105.5.19, page 32, is a floor finishing operational permit that we recommend is deleted in its entirety. Section 105.5.25, and 3 of those subsections, number 1, number 5, and number 6, we recommend deleting those. And this is the permit for the Hot Works permit requirements. So we do issue Hot Works permits, but we're recommending deleting out those 3 subsections. 105.5.26, this is a new permit that's being added to the 2024 code for indoor plant cultivation where carbon dioxide enriched environments is created. Where they're seeing that nationally is typically marijuana grow facilities or THC or CBD type. So just to regulate to make sure that the environment in there is still staying safe. 105.5.29, page 34 is a new permit for the storage of lithium-ion batteries. You guys probably been hearing about that, but there's more requirements coming for the batteries. We have several sections later on in the code. We'll be talking about that. 105.5.33, page 34. We're recommending that we delete that permit. It's for miscellaneous combustible storage. We feel that we're covering that through other sections of the code already. 105.5.34 is the mobile food trucks. We recommend deleting that permit also. Mobile food trucks are currently licensed by the health department, and so we just would run it through that way. 105.5.35 is motor fuel dispensing facilities. We recommend deleting that permit. The city regulates gas stations through the auditor's office, and we are part of that process currently. 105.5.38, open flames and candles. We'd like to continue our local amendment of adding the last sentence there. For purposes of this provision, churches shall not be deemed to be an assembly area and shall not be required to obtain a permit to utilize candles in religious ceremonies. That's just so we wouldn't have to permit all the churches. 105.5.40, outdoor assembly events. We recommend deleting that permit. Again, this is another area where the city in its entirety is looking at creating a permit requirement for that, and there are some First Amendment considerations that need to be taken if that comes into play. 105.5.42 on page 34, plant extraction systems, we recommend deleting that permit. Again, that's typically a system that's used for marijuana grow facilities, and that currently is regulated by the state of North Dakota. 105.5.46, refrigeration equipment. So this is, again, we're still in our operational permit sections. We recommend amending this section to read as follows. An operational permit is required to operate a mechanical refrigeration unit or system regulated by Chapter 6 containing more than 30 pounds of Group A3, B2, or B3 refrigerant. This amendment would clarify when the permit is needed. Group A3 refrigerant is highly flammable, and B2 and B3 refrigerants are both flammable and toxic. 105.5.47 on page 35. We'd recommend amending as follows: to delete the sentence for "and motor fuel dispensing facilities," because again, this would match up with that the gas stations are licensed through the auditor's office. 105.5.51, page 35. Temporary membrane structures and special event tents. We recommend to amend this, that the permit an operational permit is required for the fire department where the tents are used for the purposes of assembly. The city also does regulate all other tents through the inspections department. 105.5.55 on page 35. We recommend deleting this in its entirety. This would be cooking in tents, so we'll just regulate that through our operational permit for the tent. 105.5.56, we also recommend deleting this. This is for wildfire risk areas, which the city of Fargo does not have identified. 105.5.57 is for temporary heating for construction sites. We recommend deleting that permit also, as it would be quite a few sites that would need that, and so it's already covered through the building permit process. Section 105.6.2, this is the start of the construction permits in the fire code, and again, there's a lot of these that are brought in here in case you were a jurisdiction where you were running this independent and on your own. So page 35, this new permit, it's a new permit for automatic sprinkler systems. We previously issued those permits just under automatic fire extinguishing systems, so we'll keep that. 105.6.3 is a compressed gas construction permit. We recommend to continue to delete that in its entirety. 105.6.6 on page 36. Recommend deleting this construction permit in its entirety. It's for energy storage systems. 105.6.8 on page 36. This is also recommended for deletion. It's fire pumps. We'll cover that when we issue the permit for sprinkler systems. 105.6.11 gas detection systems. We recommend deleting that, as we can cover that through other permits. 105.6.12, page 36, recommend deleting this. It's for gates and barricades across fire apparatus access roads, and typically that would just be handled through the site construction process. 105.6.13, recommend deleting that construction permit for hazardous materials facilities, because that is also covered in inspections permits. 105.6.14, same page, high pile storage permit, recommend delete that one. 105.6.16, LP gas, we recommend to keep our local amendment to read as follows. A construction permit is required for the installation or modification to an LP gas system with a single container in excess of 2,000 gallons of water capacity, or the aggregate capacity of the containers is more than 4,000 gallons in water capacity. So just trying to set the threshold of when that would be required. 105.6.17, page 36, we recommend deleting that. It's for construction permit for motor vehicle repair rooms. 105.6.18, page 36, construction permit for plant extraction systems. We recommend deleting that, as it would just be covered under a building permit. 105.6.19, private fire hydrants. Recommend deleting that section also, as it would be covered during the site construction process. 105.6.20, smoke control systems. Again, recommend deleting that permit, as it would be part of the building permit. 105.6.21 is solar photovoltaic power systems, solar panels, which again would be covered under electrical and building permits. 105.6.22 special event structures. We're recommending deleting that, as we would be a review on that, but again, would run that through the inspections office. 105.6.24 standpipe systems. We would cover this. We recommend deleting this one, as we would cover it under the extinguishing systems, the sprinkler systems. 105.6.25, the tent construction permit. So we'll just operate that one under our operation permit and recommend deleting this section. Okay, that covers the heavy amount of amendments through the permit sections. 106.4, this is a longstanding amendment for the retention of construction documents that also matches what we put in the building code, that does not require that one of the approved set of documents is required on site, so it strikes that out. Section 107 on page 37. This is a new section clarifying permit for temporary uses is not to exceed 180 days. Section 113.4 on page 40 is our local amendment for the violation penalties. And so it's amended that the violation shall be guilty of an infraction, and every person, firm, or corporation violating an ordinance which is punishable as an infraction shall be punished by a fine not to exceed $1,000. The court to have the power to suspend said sentence and to revoke the suspension thereof. That completes chapter 1. Chapter 2 is the definitions in the fire code, so just a few here to highlight. A couple definitions that are coming into the 2024. Hybrid fire extinguishing system on page 58. That's a system that utilizes a combination of atomized water and inert gas to extinguish a fire. Sometimes you'll hear them like high pressure mist systems, that type of thing. Powered micro-mobility devices. There's a whole new section coming up here where we talk about these, but this is like your e-bikes, motorized scooters, that type of thing. And so they're providing a definition of that as motorized bicycles, motorized scooters, and other personal mobility devices powered by a lithium-ion or lithium metal battery. The term does not include motor vehicles that are required to be registered with the Department of Motor Vehicles for the state or jurisdiction. And then section 203 in the fire code, page 71, the occupancy classifications used to be in the definitions here, and they were moved to section 203. So 203.4.2, page 73. This, so actually the whole rest of the amendments here in the definition sections are all of the amendments for the daycare, where we're just matching what we did to the building code already. So it's all switching from 5 to 12. With that, I think we could jump to chapter 3. On page 83. Section 304.1.1, valet trash. Valet trash is, has seen a push nationally. And what it is it's a service that some companies were trying to provide in some areas where tenants could take their garbage and set it in the hallway, and then a person or company would come through and pick all that up for them so they don't have to take it out there. The issue we see with that is that we really want the hallways clear, and it could become a quite large regulation kind of process, because you're now regulating every business that's trying to perform this service. So what they put in the code this year is a section that says that if you want to do it, you can go to the appendix and adopt those rules. What we'd like to propose is that to amend that valet trash section to say that valet trash collection shall not be permitted. Trash and recycling materials shall not be placed in the corridor of Group R occupancies. And so, we really want to keep those hallways clear. We have a whole range of buildings in the city of Fargo, from sprinklered to not sprinklered to even some where their garden level and the second and third floor somewhat communicate. So we've had fires where on the first floor, if that smoke gets up to the top, it makes it very difficult to egress. And so it just, especially with Fargo having a higher proportion of multifamily dwellings than many other communities, we would recommend we leave this out. Section 304.3.6. This is a new section on page 83, regulating waste and linen containers in group I1, I2, and I3 occupancies, and ambulatory care facilities. Waste and linen containers located in group I1, I2, and I3 occupancies and ambulatory care facilities shall be constructed of non-combustible materials or low heat release materials in accordance with 304.3.2. 304.3.7 on page 84 is a similar new section regulating the construction of waste containers. 307.1.1 on page 84. This is a local amendment we'd like to keep again with this section. It's prohibited open burning. Open burning shall be prohibited when atmospheric conditions or local circumstances make such fires hazardous, And we would have the amendment, all open burning, including recreational fires, is banned when the fire index is at high, very high, or extreme level and any time during a red flag warning. This would match with our recreational fire policy. 308.3 on page 86. We'd like to amend this by adding the following subsection 1.4 to exception 1. And this is a section that regulates open flame devices in Group A occupancies. And we'd add the exception 1.4, open flame devices for food warming, and this would be to allow sterno warming cans or similar devices. Section 320 on page 94. This is a new section for lithium ion and lithium metal battery storage that regulates the storage of lithium ion batteries. And as you guys have probably heard, there's been an increase in fires with some of this, especially with the batteries that are not properly built or where they've been worked on or damaged. And larger cities have seen a significant increase in fires due to these batteries. FDNY, for example, has increased its regulation and public education, and especially in towns where they have like rental scooters. A lot of these regulations are coming in to make sure that where those are being charged and how they're being charged is being regulated. 320.3 on page 94. This is a new requirement for a fire safety plan shall be provided in accordance with section 404. In addition, the fire safety plan shall include emergency response actions to be taken upon detection of a fire or possible fire involving lithium ion or lithium metal battery storage. All these next few sections under 320 are regarding lithium ion. So 320.4 on page 94, storage requirements. Indoor storage is limited to not more than 15 cubic feet in containers. Storage areas larger than 15 cubic feet require technical opinion and report that makes recommendations for fire and explosion protection. 320.4.2.2, same page. Construction requirements for indoor storage areas shall be separated by a 2-hour fire barrier. 320.4.2.3, fire protection systems. Indoor storage areas are required to be protected by an automatic sprinkler system with the design in accordance with the technical opinion and report. 320.4.2.4, same page, fire alarm systems. An approved automatic fire detection is required to detect both fires and precursor of battery gases being vented. 320.4.2.5, explosion control. The technical opinion and report will recommend the explosion control design. 320.4.3, page 95. Outdoor storage is regulated to be no less than 20 feet from buildings or public ways. The distances can be reduced by using 2-hour fire rated assembly. 320.4.3.2 on page 95. Outdoor storage areas for lithium ion or lithium ion metal batteries, including storage beneath weather protection in accordance with section 414.6.1 of the International Building Code shall not exceed 900 square feet. The height of the battery storage in such areas shall not exceed 10 feet. Multiple battery storage areas shall be separated from each other by not less than 10 feet of open space. 320.4.3.3 on page 95. Outdoor fire detection is required and shall use radiant energy sensing detection. 322 is the new section for powered micro-mobility devices on page 95. Powered micro-mobility devices, this new section is going to regulate those, their storage and their charging. And like we spoke about earlier, micro-mobility devices include e-bikes, scooters, and other battery-powered devices. The use of a residence as a business of charging commercially owned micro-mobility devices is prohibited. And so again, that's, like I said, those cities that have rental scooters, they've kind of farmed that out to anybody that wanted to do it. So they're finding instances where you'd have 25, 50 scooters being charged in somebody's apartment or, you know, or wherever they're doing that. So they're clarifying the requirements for that. Section 322.4, battery charging areas, new section that contains specific requirements for areas where powered micromobility devices may be charged a fire alarm system is required. 322.5 on page 96, a fire safety plan is required for charging and storage of micromobility devices. That concludes chapter 3. If there's any questions, I can cover that. Otherwise, we'll do chapter 11. Okay, chapter 11. So historically, we did not adopt chapter 11 with the fire code. And we took kind of a deeper dive into this and looked at it and tried to figure out why we didn't. And it looks to be an oversight. And so chapter 11 of the IFC contains minimum requirements for existing buildings. The existing building requirements have been in the IFC since its creation. The first code cycle where all the existing building requirements were consolidated to one chapter for efficiency and to make the code more user-friendly was the 2009 IFC. The 2009 IFC created chapter 46, construction requirements for existing buildings. So I'm just going to read an excerpt from that code from the 2009 IFC chapter 46. It stated in that code book that chapter 46 is a new chapter to the IFC. While this chapter is new, its content existed previously in the IFC, but in a random manner that was neither efficient nor user-friendly. So it's not clear why we didn't adopt chapter 46 at that time, but with the city of Fargo, with the 2009 adoption, even though all the requirements are enforceable as they were adopted with the 2006 IFC. So in the 2006, they were spread out. We didn't amend any of them, but then in the 2009, chapter 46 wasn't adopted. So what we'd like to do going forward is correct that and adopt chapter 11. So with the adoption of the 2024 IFC, we would like to adopt the chapter 11 to correct this oversight. Nearly all sections are currently enforceable within the city of Fargo as the retroactive requirements had been previously adopted or are a requirement of a new building. Existing buildings requirements will be covered and discussed as to whether they were previously codified or if they are existing building requirements intended for institutional buildings required to comply with federal CMS regulations. So I just wanted to kind of give that overview of the whole chapter prior to diving into this, because a lot of these sections, they were in the code. We'd like to bring this in so it'd be easier for us to answer those questions when we find a question on an old building and they say, hey, is my exit sign required to be lit? Well, if we can go to this, it's a lot easier than trying to go back to the 2006 code or something even prior to that. So with that being said, we'll go through these sections on a high level, and I just want to mention whether they were previously in the code book. There are a few new ones here, and then there's some that we want to delete out too. So section 1103.2, for example, we recommend deleting that in its entirety. That section is for emergency responder radio coverage. We do require emergency responder radio coverage, but in new buildings, and we haven't previously required that in existing buildings, and we recommend that we don't carry that forward today. 1103.3 on page 249. This section contains requirements for existing elevators. This did previously exist in the IFC 2006 section 607. 1103.4 on page 250 is vertical opening protection requirements. Again, IFC 2006 contained Group I requirements in section 704. So these are all sections we would like to keep. I just want to call your attention to them. 1103.4.9 on page 252. This is waste and linen chutes in Group I2. The requirements for opening protection and chute rating. We would like to keep that. 1103.4.10 on page 252. Flue-fed incinerators. Existing flue-fed incinerator rooms and shafts shall be 1 hour rated. 1103.5.1 on page 252. We recommend deleting this section. This is the sprinkler system requirements for Group A2 with an occupant load of 300 or more. We have not had that adopted previously, so we would recommend we leave that out. 1103.5.3 on page 252. We recommend deleting that section also. This would require a retroactive sprinkler system in Group I2 condition 2. 1103.5.4 on page 252. We recommend deleting this in its entirety. This would require retroactive sprinkler systems in existing high-rise buildings. 1103.6 on page 252. Standpipe, 1103.6 standpipes contains requirements for retroactive standpipe installations and was previously in the 2006 IFC section 905.11. 1103.7 on page 253. Fire alarm systems contains requirements for retroactive installation of fire alarm systems and was previously in 2006 IFC section 907.3. Section 1104 on page 255. This is the means of egress for existing buildings and contains minimum requirements for existing buildings and was previously in the 2006 IFC section 1027. Section 1105 on page 260. This is the construction requirements for existing Group I2. It contains requirements for facilities that are required to meet federal CMS regulations. So some of these requirements are new, but these are facilities that are required to meet this regardless because they're inspected by federal officials to meet the life safety code. And so these requirements were added to the 2015 IFC Chapter 11 to align with federal CMS requirements. And so they carried that forward in here. And like I said, these requirements typically come from the life safety code. Section 1106 on page 264. This contains requirements for existing tire storage yards and access to piles. I don't believe we have any facilities in town that would be affected by that today. 1107, page 264. This is this is a new section for existing energy storage systems. And it contains requirements for lithium-ion technology energy storage systems installed prior to the adoption of the 2018 IFC. Requirements include a hazard analysis and detection. That concludes Chapter 11 and existing building requirements. Are there any questions on that one?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay. And then again, like I said, the remaining chapters of the IFC we would cover in the November meeting. Thank you.
Any new business at all, or?
No new business, just one announcement. In the packets and on the agenda, there is the new tentative schedule for code adoption hearings. So our presentation's here to the board, so.
Okay, sounds good. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, meeting adjourned.